Long ago, in the village of Abagana, there lived a beautiful family, the Agos. Ago was a known family in the village of Abagana. Mr. Ago had given birth to a beautiful daughter named Elizabeth Amanda Ago. Elizabeth grew up to be a very beautiful maiden. Elizabeth was greatly admired by all the men of Abagana. Her shape was to die for. Her hair was a beauty that radiates under the sun. Her teeth were pure white like snow. Her eyes were always bright and full. The moment Elizabeth steps out of her house, the men of Abagana lined up, shrieking, leaving their mouths and their jaws wide open. Elizabeth was a very proud lady. She carried herself with dignity, pride like no other, and she always looked down on the men of Abagana. When any of them comes to ask for her hands in marriage, she always told them, "What do you have to offer? As you can see, I am well embodied. Only my shape alone will make a whole day for you." But the men of Abagana were soon disgusted with her attitude, as she always belittled them to nobody, thinking that her shape and her beautiful face was only all she needed to offer. Elizabeth was so lazy, as Elizabeth did not know how to cook. She did not even know how to clean the house. Right from when she was little, her parents always treated her as a queen, as she was the only child that they had. So Elizabeth always told herself that she was the queen in Abagana. The men of Abagana, who genuinely liked and wanted to marry her, she rejected them one after the other, and telling them that they had little or nothing to offer to her. Some of them, she told them, "You know I don't cook. I can't cook. Are you willing to get a maid for me?" And the moment they say no, Elizabeth was going to reject their offer and tell them, "No, I'm not going to get married to you," whining her waist and leaving their premises. "I need a man that can take care of me, a man that is going to lavish me with beautiful gifts, a man that is going to be okay with me having maids. I can't stain my skin. I can't stain my beautiful hair. I don't want my hand getting strong or wrinkled. I am a beauty, so I need a man that can afford me and take good care of me," Elizabeth always told them. But one thing she never knew was that age was something that wasn't on anyone's side. Elizabeth kept on rejecting the men of Abagana. She had a very beautiful corner she always sits in the morning, purposely, just so that when the men comes out, they were going to admire her beauty. While Elizabeth sat down on her chair in her little corner, one fateful day, an old man approached her and told her, "Good afternoon, pretty lady. You look so beautiful, and I would like you to get married." Before the man could finish his statement, Elizabeth stood up and asked him, "Married to you? You old-looking man, Moa Elizabeth Akwanwa Asampete. Are you looking at me very well? How can you ask me, a young, beautiful, bodied lady, to get married to you? Can't you find those old ladies in your class to get married to you? Please and please, I am not getting married to you, you wretched looking man. Don't ever repeat that word again. How dare you ask Moa Elizabeth to get married to you?" Elizabeth picked the bucket of water close to her and poured on the old man and told him, "This is a lesson and a warning to any old person that will come to me in Abagana village and tell me to get married to him, this is a lesson to all of them. I am waiting for my Prince Charming, the man who deserves me, the one who is going to adore me. Unknown to Elizabeth, the old man, Mazi Okoro, was about to ask Elizabeth to get married to his son. Out of anger and disbelief, Mazi Okoro felt humiliated with everything Elizabeth had done, not just insulting him alone, but Elizabeth went as far as pouring him a bucket of water. He cursed her that Elizabeth was going to remain single all the days of her life till she learned to be a humble person and appreciate everyone, till she looked past her beauty and knew humanity, sympathy, love for one another is something she was lacking. Until she has that and find someone who was going to truly love her, Elizabeth was going to remain unmarried. As time went on, no one was coming for Elizabeth's hands. The men of Abagana suddenly lost interest in her. Nobody was coming to admire her. Even while she sat down on her chair, nobody looked her part. Elizabeth became disturbed. Her parents became disturbed as Elizabeth was the only child they gave birth to. They pushed her hard, telling her, Elizabeth, you have to get married to a man. You have to bring us grandchildren. I see no reason why you keep selecting men. But Elizabeth told her parents, Papa, Mama, no one has come for my hands in marriage. I can't remember the last time a young man in this village looked at me twice. I feel so bad. I would have accepted one while they were flocking around me. But it was not too late, as Elizabeth still had the time to amend her ways. Gradually, Elizabeth became a laughingstock in Abagana, as whenever she was passing the streets of Abagana, the children would always ask, Ke Eliza Onugodi, and other ones would echo, Mba, Onacho Woke Gold. Where is Eliza? Has she gotten married? No, she's looking for a man of gold. Elizabeth was always ashamed to go out. The Elizabeth who used to be a vibrant lady, catwalking around the village of Abagana, suddenly became depressed and always in her house. She felt really bad for everything that had been happening. She wished in her heart that she had picked one suitor out of the numerous men that came for her hands in marriage. But as time went on, Elizabeth decided to follow her father to the farm since she had nothing to do and nobody was interested in her. That was the first time she was going to the farm. Elizabeth learned how to weed the farm. Elizabeth also learned how to plant crops. With time, she also started cooking food. Elizabeth, who did not have any knowledge about this thing, soon picked interest in doing them, as she felt in her heart that if no man was going to get married to her, it was better for her to learn the little things she could do before her parents are no more. One fateful day, while Elizabeth was on the farm, an old woman carrying a very heavy bag filled with cassava. Elizabeth sighted her from a far distance. Elizabeth knew that the bag was too heavy for the old woman, and she ran towards the woman and said, Mama, good afternoon, ma. Mama, why are you carrying this heavy bag? And the old woman looked at her and was shocked and said, Elizabeth, how are you? I'm just returning from my farmland and I don't have anyone that can help me carry my bag of cassava, so that is why I am carrying it. Elizabeth quickly asked the woman to place the bag of cassava on her head so she could help her drop it in her hut, as she was already done helping her father in the farmland. The old woman was shocked. She asked Elizabeth, did you say I should drop the bag of cassava on your head? Elizabeth looked at her and said, Mama, drop it on my head now so I can quickly help you and return back to the farm so I can go back home with my father. The old woman placed the bag of cassava on Elizabeth's head, and Elizabeth helped to carry the cassava home for her. After Elizabeth dropped the cassava for the old woman thanked her greatly and told her, May all your heart desires come true. You're really a beautiful lady and a nice lady. Thank you for helping me carry this cassava, as other people I had passed along the way refused helping me. Elizabeth told her, Thank you, Mama, and she quickly ran to her father's farmland so as to join him back home. When Elizabeth got back home that day, she helped her mother in the kitchen, prepared dinner, and they all ate and went to bed. Elizabeth's parents were so glad with the change in Elizabeth's life, as Elizabeth had learned how to take care of a home properly, and she was so open to helping people. She wasn't glorifying her body anymore. She was nice and kind to people. Though Elizabeth still yearned to be married, she prayed and hoped that one day she was going to get married to a very nice man who was going to love her for who she truly was. As time went on, she noticed that men all of a sudden started asking for her hands in marriage again, as if they blew trumpet for them. She was so glad. She was a little bit picky, as she didn't want to get married to who she doesn't love. One day, a young man named Olisa met her. Olisa is a very nice man who had just returned from a journey far away from the village of Abagana. Olisa is a businessman in the village market. As time went on, Olisa and Elizabeth communicated, getting to know one another. Olisa loved how hardworking and down to earth Elizabeth, how kind she was, reaching out to help whosoever was in need of her. She was so nice and loving. Olisa loved her simplicity. Olisa was always singing praises about Elizabeth to his parents. And one day, his parents asked that Elizabeth should visit. The day for Elizabeth to visit had come. Elizabeth entered Olisa's living room, and lo and behold, Olisa's father and mother were sitting in the living room waiting for her. The moment she saw Olisa's father, she was shocked, and she quickly recalled that Olisa's father came to ask for her hands in marriage. And she quickly asked him, Good evening, sir. If your wife is still alive, why did you come to ask for my hands in marriage? Olisa's father looked at her and said, I did not come to ask for your hands in marriage that day. I came to ask you to get married to my son, who will soon be returning from a journey. But instead of listening to me, you poured me a bucket of water and you humiliated me in ways I have never felt before. I am really disappointed in you. Elizabeth knelt down and quickly apologized to Mr. Okoro, telling him that she was deeply sorry for her attitude and behavior then, that please he should put things behind him, as she truly and genuinely loved his son. Mr. Okoro looked at her and said, That's not an issue. I am not going to come in between you and my son, Olisa, as I have heard from the villagers of how nice and kind you are towards them, and how loving you are, how you have turned from Elizabeth, the proud lady, to Elizabeth, the loving lady. So I am going to bless this union between you and my son. So Mr. Okoro and his wife stood up and blessed the union between Elizabeth and Olisa. And that was how Elizabeth got married. Those who mocked her and ridiculed her when she had no suitor coming for her could now see and celebrate with her, as she was not just married, but married to the man of her dreams, as Olisa was the wealthiest man in the village of Abagana. Thank you very much for listening to the story of the day. It's your favorite storyteller, Zika. The moral lesson of the story is, Never look down on anyone. Always be nice, always be kind. Do not be proud, and always have a listening ear, as we don't know where our help will come from and who our destiny helpers will be. Thank you.